Hello everybody, welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host Alex Lambert, and oh my goodness, let's talk about that insane Circuit of the Americas race down in Austin, Texas today. Oh my goodness, that was wild, an incredible battle to the finish, and Ross Chastain was able to hold off the Dinger, AJ Allmendinger, to win. So Melon Man does win, and he gets to crush a watermelon on the front straightaway in Austin, Texas in front of all the fans. It was an absolutely insane finish, a whole lot of action. It was fun to watch. It was one of the best road course races I've seen in a while, and we don't go back to another road course until I believe June when we go to Sonoma. So, it was absolutely insane. Let's try to talk about all of the action that took place today, and let's go ahead and get on into it. First off, Ross Chastain is the winner. Melon Man gets to smash a watermelon on the front straightaway and carry around a Melon Man watermelon flag and the checkered flag that the team had set up for him, and that is the first win as well for Trackhouse Racing and that two-car team, that organization that's been working very hard. They've been running up front all year. They've been running up front. They were running up front all day today, even with the 99 car of Suarez, who ended up getting taken out earlier on in the race and later on in the race, and we'll obviously get to that as well. But just a great win overall for that organization, especially for Ross Chastain, because Ross Chastain has been coming so close. I mean, finished in the top three since Las Vegas, and was able to, he was obviously a little bit upset after finishing second last week. And I said after the last week in Atlanta, after that race, I said Chastain is that urge to get that win is really starting to get to him. You can tell in the interviews. At first, he was happy about being third. Then he was like, I kind of want to get that win. We've been so close. But today he got it, and he didn't have it easy. He had to hold off Chastain and Alex Bowman on multiple restarts. Then on the final restart, it was just all-out chaos. The 16 car of AJ Allmendinger. Now remember, AJ Allmendinger in the 16 car is not racing for points. This is a driver that is only racing a handful of races all season, no points on the line. All he wants to do is win the race. So of course he's going to go for it. He gets a little aggressive with Watermelon Man, with Chastain, kind of knocks him up the racetrack a couple times, and that opened the door for Ross Chastain to do the same thing to AJ Allmendinger. So when we coming to the second half of the racetrack, I don't know actually what turn it was because there's so many turns, but in that turn where Chastain essentially just kind of dive bombed the 16 car of Dinger, it looked like Bowman, it looked like the hack might have backed into another win there, but unfortunately it did take out Bowman as well when the 16 car went up there and slammed into Bowman. So just a whole lot of action. Alex Bowman was super upset after the race. You saw him. He was, had his head down against the safer wall on the inside of the racetrack. He was upset that he wasn't able to get up there and get that win. Finished second, which is a good day, because especially considering how Bowman run the whole day, which really wasn't, a top five car for most of the day. So, but just to see that emotion is great, and I think a lot of fans have been saying for a long time, NASCAR needs to see this emotion. We saw the emotion with every driver in the race today. AJ Allmendinger was very obviously upset in his post-race interview, obviously because he just lost the race. You're going to be upset, but, obviously nothing that will continue. I'm sure he'll be over it tomorrow when he looks at the bigger picture. But he was just upset that he lost the race, which is good to see. Same thing with Bowman. He was obviously upset after the race. And then, of course, you had the winner, Chastain. He was pumped. I mean, he's over here, got his crew chief riding around in the car. That was incredible. That was awesome. That's exactly what NASCAR needs right now. That excitement, those exciting drivers and those personalities. And we got it all today. And it was really exciting to see that finish and to see the drivers. Let's kind of go through the finishing order here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the other Trackhouse Racing driver later. I'm going to talk a little bit about Custer later, but let's kind of go through the top five at least here. I already mentioned Ross Chastain winning the race. And then, of course, I said Alex Bowman almost snuck up there and got the win, but couldn't quite pull it off. Now, Christopher Bell, who ended up finishing third, I don't know how he got up there. Christopher Bell was having problems all day. I thought he was about to go a lap down at one point at this huge facility. And then he was able to sneak his way back up with all the cautions at the end. We had, 6, 7 cautions in the final stage of this race, in the final 30 laps. So it was a lot of caution laps at the end of this race. And Christopher Bell was able to sneak up there and get third. Chase Elliott, who was having a horrendous weekend, didn't do too good in practice, was running slow lap times, didn't do good in qualifying. He was obviously upset. Clint Boyer said he talked to him for Fox, and he said Chase Elliott was upset all weekend, but was able to get that car a little bit better. He was actually really slow to start the race. I think he started like 14th. Fell back to like 18th at one point, but was able to fix something, get the car running a little bit faster. Obviously, they continued to work on it, and Chase Elliott did finish in the 4th position today. Tyler Reddick ended up finishing 5th. Tyler Reddick's another one of those drivers. He led some in this race, led it early on, was actually fighting for the lead at the end of this race on a couple of those later race restarts. And Tyler Reddick, another one of those drivers, were kind of waiting to get that first win. Chastain's been fast all year. I don't even think this will be his only win of the year. I doubt this will be the only win that the number one team gets all year. But I look at Tyler Reddick, another one of those drivers I could see winning multiple races. He's been in the top 5. Even if he doesn't finish in the top 5, he's running in the top 5 every week. You got to go back to Auto Club when he essentially dominated 3/4 of the race in California and then had a tire go down, which is essentially completely out of his control and kind of out of the team's control as well. And then he got hammered by the 24 car in that race as well. So Tyler Reddick running up front every week consistently. There's kind of a switch. We still have drivers running up front consistently, but it's different drivers. Like I said, Bowman's been up there. Reddick's been up there. Chase Elliott kind of snuck up today after having a few bad runs. But Ross Chastain, once again, another one of those drivers. Like I said, the 99 car, Daniel Suarez, the Trackhouse Racing teammate, essentially dominated the first stage, led every lap in the first stage of the race, winning the first stage, and then got caught up in some trouble. On a restart, spun, I believe it was the start of stage 2, got caught up in some trouble, spun around, got some damage on the car, actually came all the way back into the top 10 after that damage, and then had another issue with the race car. So just a really rough day, a rough finish for Daniel Suarez, but at least he knows that he does have the speed, and Suarez has been running up front a lot. I go back to Las Vegas a few weeks ago when he was taken out, something that was completely out of his control, and then essentially another one of those unlucky situations today for the 99 car. For the Trackhouse Racing organization, that 99 team. An unfortunate event for those guys. They're running up front every week. There's a bunch of different drivers. I think the 99 is going to get at least one win this season. I mean, he's got 30 races left to go. I mean, obviously I think he's going to make the playoffs. I think he might win a couple of races. These drivers are really showing. Tyler Reddick is another one of those, I think, and Chastain. Those are right now look like kind of like the big 3. Ross Chastain, Reddick, and Suarez. Those guys are running up front every single week. Another driver I do want to mention who ended up finishing 8th today. I mentioned him after he won the Daytona 500. I said this guy's going to be up front in these road course races. He was up front all day, actually got spun, so was trying to recover from that for most of the day, but he ran up front. He ran, I believe he led a little bit, was at least in the top 3 for a lot of the race, and then of course was recovering from that spin for a majority of the second half of the event. And therefore, he did end up finishing 8th, but Austin Cindric was running very well today. We know he's one of those drivers that are kind of those road course race car drivers, so certainly be interesting to see him. And then, of course, I do want to mention a few drivers that I am concerned for the rest of the season. Of course, Denny Hamlin, another bad finish. I believe he finished 14th today. That's not good for Denny Hamlin. He's trying to make up points. He's been finishing bad every week. Got spun at the end of the race today. And Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson has wrecked in, the last 3 races? And he wrecked again today, so obviously not good for him. Didn't finish the race. Another major issue for the 5-car Kyle Larson. He won in California the second race of the year, and he hasn't been up there since. Wrecked out in the Daytona 500 the week before that as well, so obviously we'll have to watch the 5 team. They're running in the top 5 and top 10 consistently, and a lot of drivers are, and it's interesting to see if they will maybe gain a little bit and be able to battle the Trackhouse team and, Alex Bowman and stuff for those victories. We'll have to see if they can just gain a little bit on them, but they got to start getting those finishes as well, because we don't know how many winners there's going to be this season. 6 different winners in 6 races. There could be some problems making the playoffs for some of these guys, including the other guy I have circled who could be in trouble, Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch was in the top 10, and this hurts to say because I'm a huge Kyle Busch fan. This hurts to say, but Kyle Busch was having a lot of issues today, but was running in the top 5 at the end of the race consistently. Looked like he was going to get a 5th, 6th place finish, and then wrecks on the final lap, finishes 28th. Takes away all those points that could be very valuable. It's just frustrating, and Kyle Busch is used to being, the fastest car on the racetrack, 6th, 7th place, and for a majority of the race outside the top 10 is not where Kyle Busch is used to running. So obviously there's going to be a lot of work to do on that race car as well as, the Toyotas just haven't really been running up front. Like I said, Christopher Bell did finish 3rd, but he wasn't running there all day and just kind of snuck up there at the end. Not saying he didn't deserve it, but the Toyotas obviously right now are not as fast as the Fords and the Chevrolets. So those are the drivers that I am very concerned for right now. I do have a few things I want to mention that I think NASCAR might need to work on, to look forward to fixing, because there were a few major issues that NASCAR did have in this race that I do want to bring up before the end of it. First off, NASCAR made two bad calls today. The first one I want to mention is when the 47 car was stopped on the racetrack. It took them, 30 seconds to a minute to throw the caution after the 47 car was obviously, even if he was just stopping on the racetrack, he obviously wasn't going to go. And then, of course, we found out that he was, not under the power to be able to continue driving the car. The car was killed. And NASCAR waited a long time to throw the caution. That gave drivers like Kevin Harvick, Christopher Bell tried to do it, and a few other drivers tried to go down pit road to gain an advantage. That's an unfair advantage for those guys, for them to wait so long to throw the caution. So that's obviously something that NASCAR needs to work on, is throwing the cautions at the right times. Maybe, I get if you want to wait extra 10 to 15 seconds. That makes sense to make sure the car can't go, but we knew he was slowing down. He was stopped on the racetrack for a minute before NASCAR threw the yellow. It was a long time, so that was one of those things that obviously NASCAR can look at to improve on. Another one of the things was there was out of bounds in this race. It was in the S's of the racetrack, which is kind of a strange part. If you get all four tires on the other side of the S's or on the concrete, that is considered out of bounds. It is a penalty, and NASCAR saw that Cole Custer, who was also another one of those drivers running up front, your Phoenix winner, cut the racetrack. He was kind of pushed out of the way by Chase Elliott. By the way, Chase Elliott was just kind of being a bulldozer today. He must be watching Brad Keselowski. Ran through Kyle Busch, ran through a few other drivers at the end. I believe he ran into his own teammate. And, then, of course, ran Cole Custer out of bounds. But NASCAR called Cole Custer for a penalty under green flag. Then when the caution came out, they said, oh, no, we're going to review it. I think in the end, NASCAR obviously made the right call. But let's kind of make sure those rules are clarified going into the race, that if you're forced out of bounds, then you don't get called a penalty. That obviously needed to be addressed before it happened, which I was surprised NASCAR didn't have that addressed. They do it all the other tracks that have it out of bounds, like, Atlanta now, Daytona, Talladega. So it's just a couple of those things that I think NASCAR obviously can look at. We now know the rule for COTA, but going into future road course races, future out of bounds rules, if we continue to do that at different racetracks, that obviously the rules need to be put in place first before we start making decisions. But overall, just an absolutely great weekend for NASCAR. This was exciting racing. The only thing was kind of had a lot of cautions at the end, but that's just how some of these races play out. But the cautions were quicker than I thought they would have been all day. It was great. A fantastic, wild, action-packed finish between the drivers that have been racing up front the entire race. So it was exciting. And I'm excited for next week at Richmond. We're going to Richmond next week, the first short track race of the season. We actually go to all short tracks after that. We go to Richmond next week, Richmond, Virginia, for the first short track race. And then we go to Martinsville on Saturday night. I will be at Martinsville for that Saturday night race right after. And then, of course, we go to the Bristol Dirt Race on Easter night after that. So it's obviously exciting. I hope you guys tune in, watch Dirty Air next week after the Richmond race. It's going to be crazy. We know these cars run good, or probably will run good on short tracks. And that's it. And, of course, about Kyle Busch finishing bad once again, let's get rowdy.